Hello, hello, hello. Hang on a second. There we go. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I am your host, Kim Davis. It is Tuesday, November the 8th. Welcome to the show. I'm super excited to be with you today. It is election day. And let me say this, if you're watching the show live or if you happen to watch the replay early enough and you haven't voted and you're registered, go vote. Please go vote. It is so important. Go vote. I will never suggest who you vote for, but I will say vote your values. Be sure you vote. If you're not ready at this point, you've missed the mark. Get registered and be ready for the next time because we need to continually exercise our right to vote. But today is election day. I've been talking about early voting until there was no more early voting. Today is the day. This is it. Get out and vote. All right. So I wanted to start the show with that. Welcome. And I think Angel is going to wants to join us today. She's also super excited. Since we were together last, the Houston Astros are the new World Series champions. Man, your hair's a mess, Angel. Wasn't planning on you being a part of the show. They are the World Series champions. So today is primarily dedicated to the Houston Astros. I'm going to let you hear from Dusty Baker and his wife Melissa and closer Ryan Presley and also his wife and Alex Bregman for what you are able to hear in the mayhem that was the celebration in the clubhouse. So we're going to talk about the Astros, about what they accomplished. We're going to discuss the whole dynasty word, right? Is that a thing? Should we be talking about that? And then we got to talk about some other stuff. It was just going to be Astros, but Kyrie, who is once again in the news, and we talked about it on this show. They ran afoul of the team, the Nets, and the league. He was suspended last week for posting a video and tweeting a video that seemed to be anti-Semitic, and the comments he made. He kind of doubled down on it. He did ultimately apologize, albeit via a tweet on a post on Instagram. But I want to talk about, although he brought this on himself, I want to talk about what the Nets are now asking of him. I think they've gone too far. We'll discuss that. And we also have to talk about the fact that Jeff Saturday, who by all accounts is a very nice man, who last week was, an analyst on ESPN, and then yesterday he became the new head coach, the interim head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. And Jeff Saturday, although he's played in the league, has zero coaching experience. Here we go again. But because it's an interim gig, the Rooney Rule doesn't apply. Let's talk about that as well. I want to talk about the Astros and all of the celebratory good stuff. But we've got to talk about those things too. So buckle up. I appreciate you being here. It's going to be a fun show, and I look forward to, obviously, your input, your questions, and your comments. But we're going to first start with how we're able to make this show possible. I'm excited to bring on a new partner that is joining the Chalk Talk family, and that's Lamond Kitchen with Chef Reggie. They have a new line of spices they've released, and so we're going to be sharing some of the recipes that they use. Here is what you can do if you purchase these spices, and it's what a great time as we get ready to go into the holiday season. So let me tell you how it started. It started in his grandmother's kitchen. A family passion for cooking and uniting friends, family, and strangers over delectable cuisine. So they've chosen some of the finest recipes for your enjoyment at home, and here is one, and it's what you can do with salmon. You can find those spices online. I've tried all of them. All of them. They are amazing. I encourage you to do the same. And of course, as we are headed into the holiday season, don't forget about your Kimmy treats. You can order online at kimmytreats.com. They're great for things you can have around the house for yourself. They make wonderful holiday gifts, maybe for clients or friends. And guess what? It's healthy. The popcorn is plant-based, and people go, well, Kim, what do you mean plant-based? Isn't all popcorn plant-based or vegan? But it's what you put on the popcorn. This popcorn is made with coconut oil. It's a non-GMO popcorn, and it's clean ingredients. Everything that is in the popcorn is on the label, and you will recognize it. Not a lot of ingredients, but a whole lot of flavor. Make sure that you go online and get your Kimmy treats today. And of course, one of the partners who's been with us for quite a while is our good friends over at I Love Jinka. I encourage you to go check out Jinka at ilovejinka.com, or you can find it in your HEB stores if you're in the Houston area. And here's where you find it if you're looking for it at HEB.
Here at HEB, in the Healthy Living Department of Probiotics, you can find Jinka 7 days a week.
Yeah. Look at that Jinka sale. Look at that Jinka.
So it is ilovejinka.com, or you can find it obviously in the healthy living section at HEB. All right, let's jump into the show. You know, your call to action today is to not just support the Lamont Catering and I Love Jinka and get your Kimmy treats, but if you have not voted, go vote, right? Go vote. Go vote. If you're watching the replay and you still have time by the time you watch the replay, go vote. All right? So listen, the Houston Astros are World Series champions again, right? They did it again. 6 games, they defeated the Philadelphia Phillies. It was quite, I'm going to say, somewhat of a historic run. After being shelled in game 3 in Philadelphia, Lance McCullers had an outing that was forgettable, right? And we all like to forget it. They gave up, was it 7 runs, 5 home runs? That was a World Series record. And then they come back in game 4, and there is a combined no-hitter with Framber Valdez. No, with Javier. Let me get it right. I'm throwing it all off. So there was Javier Christian. Framber did win 2 games, but Javier Christian and the bullpen combined for a no-hitter. And there are some that are saying, well, if you don't pitch the whole thing, there's no such thing as a combined no-hitter. It was a combined no-hitter. It was really fun to watch. It was fun to watch. The Astros, of course, lost the first game. Verlander came out, was not his finest outing. They won game 2. They go to Phillies. The series was split at 1 game apiece. Then the Phillies win game 3. They go up 2-1. And then the Astros win the rest of the way. But it was not without a bit of excitement and drama. It was quite an impressive series. And it is also Dusty Baker's first World Series win as a manager. And so many people were saying, do it for Dusty, do it for Dusty. They wanted Dusty to win it, and it was exciting to see him finally do it. I'm going to let you hear from Dusty Baker. First, let's hear from Dusty Baker in the clubhouse after the game. This is Dusty in the clubhouse after they've won, and the celebration is still kind of going on.
go to Game 7 because Game 6 has been my nemesis. Game 6, man, oh my God. Game 6 again. I said my prayers last night. I said, Lord, please don't take us past Game 6 again. And then when you're done, hit that ball on the moon out there. Man, I said, okay, we got action. Because my bullpen was strong and our guys were rested.
That was Dusty Baker in the clubhouse after they won the championship. You know, you heard him talk about it, and you often hear him talk about how he calls on his people, right? He calls on his ancestors. He calls on that. I so appreciate that about Dusty. He was excited, and he said, you know, Game 6 has been his nemesis, and he was like, oh Lord, please don't take us past Game 6, right? Let us get Game 6. I'm going to let you hear from Dusty a little bit more, but while we are still in the clubhouse, I'm going to let you hear from. Here's just kind of what happens in the clubhouse. You'll see Pena, who of course was the American League Championship Series MVP, and he also was the World Series MVP. And this is him and others celebrating a little bit of the clubhouse action after the win on Saturday night. All right, I can't let it play too much because the music gets a little racy, and so I don't want them to kick us offline. But that was just a tad of what happens in the clubhouse after a team wins a championship. There's a lot of celebration, there's a lot of party, it's a lot of fun. And here is Alex Bregman, who broke his finger sliding into second base during that game. So listen, I think all of us wanted them to win it in 6 games. I know I certainly did. A Game 7 would have been really challenging, right? Because you didn't have Yuli Gurriel. He was out. He got injured in Game 5 in Philly in that rundown between third and home. So he was nursing a knee injury. He was out. And then you would have probably had Alex Bregman, not sure. I mean, maybe he would probably would have found a way to play, but you would have had him coming back with a broken finger. Altuve was a little banged up. I mean, timing's everything. They needed it to be Game 6, and they got it done. Here's Alex Bregman after the win in the clubhouse Saturday night. The question was, are you ready to talk about whether or not this team is a dynasty? And his response, if you couldn't hear it over the music and celebration, was, I don't know about that. But what I do know is we have a lot of guys coming back. And that's what's really exciting about this Astros team. They have a lot of people coming back, right? They've got their pitching staff. They've got Framber Valdez and Christian Javier and Lance McCullers, who for me might come out of the bullpen. But at any rate, you got Lance. You've got Hector Neris, you've got Brian Abreu, you've got Rafael Montero, you've got Ryan Presley. You've got a lot coming back. So Verlander, will he be back? I don't know. I don't expect that he's back, and I'm okay with that, right? He got his World Series win in terms of not just a ring, because he got a ring from 17, but he actually won his first World Series start. Right, so he got that under his belt. But here's the deal with Verlander. He has a player option of $25 million a year for 2023. He can opt out and say, I'm going to be a free agent. I expect him to opt out and try to get more money. And God bless him if he can get it. I wouldn't pay him any more than that, because you've got so many young arms that performed actually so much better in postseason. Taking nothing away from him, he's a future Hall of Famer. He's the likely Cy Young Award winner for 2022. But you don't need to put that kind of make that kind of investment in Verlander for 2023. Go out and get yourself another bat, okay? Hopefully they can sign Christian Javier, who came over from the Boston Red Sox. If you guys remember, in the middle of the season, when he came over, the Red Sox were in town playing the Astros. He was a starting catcher. He was an everyday catcher for the Red Sox, and he had taken with the Sox. And then it's like, oh, by the way, there's a trade. You're with this team now. So initially, he was stunned and not super excited about it. But he came to be a real true part of this team. He's obviously very talented. He caught the combined no-hitter. I think he caught 30 scoreless innings. His offense is obviously better than Maldi's, and he's younger. So I expect them to try to re-sign Christian Javier. And so, listen, Dusty didn't call him a backup catcher, but he didn't play any. He went from playing every day, being the starting catcher with the Red Sox, coming to a new team, from a place that he loved, a place that he'd won a championship ring with, and now I'm coming to the bench. And he did it, and he did it well. And so Christian Vasquez, I just wanted to throw that in about him. He was a DH in Game 6. He was super excited about the win. You could see him in all of the celebration, in the parade, and in all of the post-game, excitement, if you will. I don't want to call it chaos. So I mentioned pitching. Ryan Presley had been lights out, right? While Jeremy Pena was the MVP of the World Series, there's some who say, well, could it have been Ryan Presley because he shut down so many innings? He pitched quite a bit. Yeah. What about Framber Valdez and the 2 starts he gave? Yeah, but I'm okay with it being Jeremy Pena. What I'm not okay with is, how is Jeremy Pena not even a finalist for Rookie of the Year? Now, let me be very clear. I didn't think he would win it. I didn't think he should win it. I thought Julio Rodriguez of the Mariners was probably the favorite to be the Rookie of the Year, and I thought the regular season he was the favorite. But I thought Jeremy should have been in the conversation. He wasn't even a finalist. But anyway, he is an Astro. He's excited to be here. And he got a gazillion marriage proposals along the parade route on yesterday. Here's Ryan Presley after the game on the field, after he got another save to shut it down and help this Astro team win another World Series.
Who feels more pressure in the 9th inning, him or you?
In my opinion, I don't have any control over the situation, so I'm not sure.
How was your arm feeling? I mean, you pitched a lot in this series, but the days off that you guys had, did that really help you, I guess, maintain your stuff?
I mean, at this point, it's the postseason. You just got to go until you can't go anymore. This is where all the hard work in the offseason pays off. So, I mean, you go out there and you go until you can't go. I mean, every out's a big out. So as long as you can keep getting outs and save the bullpen more innings, that's all you can ask for.
Does all of this feel the way you thought it would feel when you dreamed about it as a little kid?
I mean, I can't even think about it right now. I mean, it hasn't really sunk in yet, to be honest with you. Probably more in the parade and seeing all the fans and everybody that'll probably see.
Who do you think of in the moment?
That's my good friend over at KHOU, Jason Bristol, who is there asking those questions as we stay. You just grab people when you could, right? On the field, in the clubhouse, trying to get sound, understanding that everyone's excited and they're celebrating. And so I'm going to also let you hear from Dusty Baker's wife, Melissa, who doesn't do a lot of interviews, but she did take a moment to talk a little bit about just the win.
A lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and game almost killed him when he had a stroke in 2017 or whatever. But so, just to see all this come together, and he's worked so hard, and if anybody earns it more, it's him.
What were your emotions when you saw that final out?
Well, I told Anita, I said, I don't know if I'm going to cry or not. I got a little emotional this morning when we woke up, and I asked him if he was going to cry, and he says, I'm not going to cry. I said, well, I might, but I held it all together for him. But it's surreal. I don't think it's all going to sink in until tomorrow, probably.
I don't know if you heard the part that may have gotten cut off when she talked about he's put so much into it, blood, sweat, and tears. Almost lost his life in 2017 when he had a stroke. So when you talk about somebody putting everything into it, that's what Dusty Baker's done. You hear him always talk about his mother who passed away earlier this year, and his father, and Hank Aaron, and all the people that he draws on. And he talks about his faith. He talks about how much he prays. He has been through a lot, not just the being a black man in baseball a lot, right? But just life a lot. And so there's so many things that so many of us really like about Dusty. But despite the people who questioned him every step of the way, every decision he made, if you are someone who was ridiculing him and criticizing him for not pulling Lance McCullers when Lance had given up 5 runs, and the Astros had no runs. They ultimately lost that game 7-0. Just stop it. I have heard from some people that, first of all, there's a lot of people that like Dusty Baker. They love Dusty Baker. He was celebrated. People were chanting about him. And so I think most people respect, pardon me, and really like Dusty Baker. But then there are those who don't, who question everything he does. And I said it last week, and he mentioned it again in one of the interviews, in one of our conversations over the weekend. You know, why would he pull Lance McCullers and burn his bullpen? His bullpen here, right? That's how they were able to be so lights out and win this game in 6. So Dusty Baker, Hall of Fame manager, he's going to be that anyway. And now you can also call him, oh, by the way, World Series champion. Here is Dusty after the game, just really talking about the journey to get right here to this place.
My 93 team won 103 games. Then in 94, we had the lockout. And then in 95, they sold half the team. Billy Swift, and John Burkett, and Will Clark, and Mike Jackson, and Robbie Thompson, and Matt Williams, and Kirk Memory. Then I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the economics of baseball. And I guess they had lost a lot of money, but I always thought that we could have won 5 or 6 years more after that 93 season. And even 5 or 6 years later, I was saying, hello to everybody on every team that had been on my team before, Royce Clayton and, Darren Lewis and Willie McGee, and, we had some great players at that time. And, then scuffled back, and, we've had some ups and downs, some disappointments, But those disappointments make you stronger or they break you, So it's kind of been the story of, my life, where people tell me what you can't do, or even now, I won a bunch of games, my team's won a bunch of games, and all I hear about is what you don't do, you don't like this, you don't like young players, you can't handle pitchers, you can't, and I'm like, well, damn, what did I do? After a while, I quit listening to folks telling me, what I can't do. And all that does is motivate me more to do it, because I know there's a bunch of people in this country that are told the same thing. You know what I mean? And it's broken a lot of people, but my faith in God and my mom and dad always talking to me, made me persevere even more. My mom, she told me a number of times, to be African American, you got to be twice as good to achieve the same thing. I heard that over and over and over. And my dad would always tell me, when I'd get in fights and stuff, and he'd tell me, what would Jackie do? And I was like, I'm not and Jackie wasn't turn the cheek brother either. I'm damn sure not turn the cheek of the dude, you know what I mean? So, but, you learn to coexist with different people in the workplace.
One win away from the World.
That was Dusty Baker after the game on Saturday night. I liked it. A lot of times I'm at the game early, in the regular season. Before, because in postseason it's so different. There's so many more people. And, get a chance to have some chats with him. And it's just really cool. I mean, I get why so many people really, really like Dusty Baker. And one last Dusty clip before we're going to jump and talk about some of this other news we have to get to is he calls on his ancestors a lot. And, of course, I lost my dad in 2006, but I lost my mom last year and I lost my brother a few months ago. But when I lost my mom, I really started to think about, so my mom's my ancestor. Like, I understand that. And so I hear him talk about it a lot. Here's Dusty just talking about kind of where he gets some of his strength from.
I was counting the outs. I was counting the outs in the 8th and then the 9th. And then I heard my dad talking to me and my mom and my brother who passed. And, Don Baylor, I was thinking of Donnie today. He's on my wall. And Hank Aaron and Joe Black and, all the guys that Roy Campanella, Jim Gilliam, all the guys that Al Kaline, guys that motivated me and guys that were in my corner. And I was thinking, please press no drama in the 9th. And I was saying, JR, man, give me a slider. That's what I was thinking.
Hey, I was saying, please press no drama too. I was saying that even before the game. Like, let's just have a good game. Let it be competitive, which I knew it would because the Phillies, they're good. It's a good team. I said before the series, I'd put their lineup 1 through 6 really against anybody. So the Phillies are a good bunch of players, but I didn't want the drama. I still thought the Astros were the better team, and that they were this was theirs to win. So congratulations to the Houston Astros. Congratulations. Hey, Marcus Hackett, welcome. Thank you for being a part of this show today. It's always good to see people, see you guys. Let me switch the format. Verlander was barely above average postseason. You're right. Verlander he didn't give you what we got during the regular season, and I don't know if that is because it's in his head, if it's because he ran out of gas because it was his first year back after Tommy John surgery, and we talked about how amazing that was. He had a lights out kind of season. He is the Cy Young Award winner, no doubt about it. He will be. That's a regular season award, but you're right, HR Gold. He was barely above average in postseason. So Kenneth asked, who votes for Rookie of the Year? So the baseball writers, there's an association of baseball writers, and they vote on those awards. And you're right, Jeremy Pena was an emotional rookie pick for Houston. And actually, it really wasn't emotional for the organization. And if you followed him in AAA, and even when he was when he came up through A-ball and like played at the AAA level, he was on the taxi squad last year in postseason. And he had some injuries last year, which is why, he didn't come up any sooner. But when there was talk about Carlos Correa and whether or not he would come back, I was talking to a number of different people, and I said, Jim's probably going to offer him what Jim's going to offer him, and he's not going to go much above that because they've got Jerry Pena, waiting in the wings. And so Zena, who you all know is one of my best friends, and she says, you were right. You talked a lot about Jeremy Pena. I did talk about Jeremy Pena. And listen, he had some rough patches early. He worked through those. He's so grounded and calm, and he's got a lot of upside. Like, he's just getting started. So he's a Gold Glove Award winner at shortstop. So was Kyle Tucker. But this has been an amazing rookie season for Jeremy Pena. Hey, good morning, Anita, Miss Legacy Blue. How about those Astros, right? How about that Dusty Baker? And there's somebody else I saw. the trooper on the parade. She stood the entire route. Yeah, you're talking about Melissa Baker. That's Dusty's wife. She did. She's got a boot on her leg. I don't know if she had surgery or clearly some sort of injury. But she was, HR Gold is saying she was on, she stood the entire time with that boot on and with a smile. I mean, that's what it's about. Having somebody by your side no matter what. And she's not one that usually likes to be in the spotlight. That's his thing. She's super supportive. So we appreciate her taking a few moments after the game on Saturday night. But yeah, that's what she does. She supports him, and it works for them. Yes. If the game was close, then pull Lance McCullers Jr. But the Astros weren't even scoring. It would not have made a difference. Exactly. So you burn your bullpen where you're not getting any runs. So I don't care how great your pitching is. If you have no runs, you can't win. There's nothing you can do. So let Lance do what he does, and know that this is one you've probably got to write off. And so those are the kind of tough decisions that Dusty has to make. And he often talks about, thank you for making that you're absolutely right. He often talks about, reminds people that it's not just him. He said, when you look at something and you see the president come out and say something, he's got a cabinet. There are other people who are involved, but he's the one that comes out and makes a statement. And ultimately, the responsibility is his. And so Dusty's not saying, don't hold me responsible, but he also says it's not just him. He is making it in conjunction with his staff, with a team of people, with his coaches. And so, but he's the one that comes out and makes the statement, and ultimately the buck stops with him, and he realizes that. But it was just crazy to see the kind of criticism he got, and for people to start saying, "Oh man, I see why he's never won a World Series." I mean, come on, let it go. Hey, good morning, Miss Carolyn. Welcome. It's always good to see you on the show. Welcome. I appreciate you. And whoops. Wait, I was trying to show this. Hey Kenneth, thank you very much. I appreciate you. I'm guessing by your avatar that you have voted. I'm encouraging everybody, if you have not voted and you're listening to the show and you're not listening to the replay, unless you listen to the replay before the polls close in your area, go vote, right? If you're registered, go vote. And if you can think of somebody that who's registered and hasn't voted, call them. Say, hey, can I take you to go vote? I will go with you, but we need you to vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I mean, you can tell them. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I am going to say vote your values. I think if you vote your values, that will be okay. But we need you to vote. So I'm guessing, Kenneth, thank you for the kind words about the show, and I feel pretty sure that you probably voted. And I knew what you meant, Rookie of the Year regards to paying that. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's the Baseball Writers Association that votes for that. So much excitement. I wanted to really dedicate most of the show to the Astros, and in particular, Dusty Baker. We'll be talking more about it in the future in terms of what happens. Yes, Kenneth says yes, please vote. What's going to be the future. I don't think I don't expect James Click, the general manager, to be back. Dusty has said he wants to come back. He said, I always wanted to win 2, but you got to win 1 first. So now the ball's in Jim Crane's court, the owner. We'll see what happens, what he does in terms of, will he bring Dusty back? Like, how do you not bring the guy back and just lead your team to a World Series? You're the owner. You can do whatever you want, but we shall see. All right, I'm going to shift gears for a bit, right? Because I mentioned to start the show, there were a couple other things that are important. Stories that I wanted to get to. So I want to talk about the Kyrie Irving story. All right, let me pull this up and see if I can share my screen with you. Come on up. Okay, so what you're looking at is a story about, initially when Kyrie came under fire, there were no players standing with him. right? I think people felt like, here we go again with Kyrie, and you're really kind of out of line, right? For retweeting or posting a video and then doubling down when it was termed to be offensive, and when they ask you to apologize, you wouldn't. And so I think the players just kind of were like, there were no players co-signing any of that behavior, and they're not co-signing it now, right? But when Kyrie was suspended from the Nets for at least 5 games last week, after he endorsed this anti-Semitic film on social media, and really, like I said, doubled down about not apologizing or condemning anti-Semitism or backing down from his stance. He then did later apologize. Now, in the interview, because I actually sat and watched the whole thing, he said, "Listen, I accept. I'm accountable for it. I accept my responsibility, or I'm being accountable," whatever his words were. But later on Instagram, he did apologize it wasn't until the Nets suspended him, but he did apologize. Also, reportedly, he did not respond to multiple texts from team owner Joe Tsai about the controversy. So, not real smart, right? You still work for this man. Like, he signs the checks. And so, right? That I obviously didn't sit well. So, now the Nets have put out these steps that Kyrie must take in order to be reinstated. And here's where I have a problem. So, they want him to issue a verbal apology and condemn the anti-Semitic film. They want him to share the apology on social media. He's kind of done that. They want him to complete sensitivity trainings. They want him to meet with Jewish leaders in the Brooklyn community. They want him to meet with Tsai, that's the owner of the team, and they want him to make a $500,000 donation to anti-hate causes. Now, these requirements are coming from the Nets, not the league. And so that's too much. Because now what you're trying to do is humiliate him, right? Now you're trying to almost, in my opinion, emasculate him. Now, Kyrie, let me be very clear. 2 things can be true. Kyrie can be wrong in what he did initially and how he handled it. He can be wrong. He is. But this is too much. This is too much. I mean, even when people have said, have made racist comments about black people, they haven't had to get any kind of sensitivity training or meet with the NAACP or heck, meet with the Black Panthers or anybody else. It's too much. It is too much. And so I think that the Players Association, the thought is that they're probably going to have a statement about it, stand behind him, and, about, this Jaylen Brown, who's the vice president of the NBA Players Association, said that he and others in the Players Union have some issues with the requirements that the Nets have given Kyrie for his reinstatement. I just think it's too far. It's like it's too much, And again, it didn't have to get here. I think if Kyrie had responded to the owner, it probably would not have gotten here. But it is here now. And I'm just saying that's too much. I think that's too much. And I think that they are trying to, the initial word that came to mind for me was they're trying to emasculate him and humiliate him and do a whole bunch of stuff. So here's the other question, all right? I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. So the documentary, he shared it. It was airing on Amazon Prime. So let's stop there for a moment. Of course, is owner of Amazon. Amazon now has a deal with the National Football League. Of course, they carry the Thursday night games. The broadcast, to me, the video is horrible. And they are about to enter into a deal that they haven't already with the NBA. So does the platform bear any responsibility for hosting this particular film? Or is the NBA going to say, take this documentary down off your platform? It's problematic. And when they when the Nets league, but when the Brooklyn Nets entered all of those listed all of those rules or requirements, I just thought they had crossed the line. And so that's my thought about that. HR Gold says, I hope Crane realizes today's price for Dusty is not yesterday's price. Right? Can we get an amen on that one? Absolutely. Crane is a smart man. He's a businessman. And let me say this. Somebody asked me, why do you think that Crane has been slow to re-sign Dusty? Do you think it's race? Now, y'all know I don't shy away from talking about things that I think are racially motivated. I don't think that's it in this case. I think if it's anything, it's age. I don't think Dusty's too old. Let me be very clear. I think Dusty's got what it takes to come back. And we see how the players love Dusty, how they respond to Dusty. And oh, by the way, they've only won since Dusty got here. They won 103 games this year. Yes, they lost last year to the Braves. They didn't have any pitching. They didn't have Lance McCullers, who was better before he got injured. He was having a good postseason, remember, when he went out? They didn't have Verlander. So anyway, I hope you're right. I know that if Dusty comes back, he's gonna have to give him a raise. I mean, your manager takes your team to the World Series 2 years in a row, and he wins it the second year after winning 103 regular season games. So I think that they will have to do that. Hey Tony, I'm sorry you missed the first part of the show. Go back and watch the replay. I played lots of Dusty stuff and post-game things from the World Series. I think that you will enjoy it. At least I hope so. Tony is... Sorry, it's moving slow over here. As a black dude, I'm not comfortable with that 6-step process. Listen, as a black woman, I'm not comfortable with it either. I just think that's too much. And again, 2 things can be true. Kyrie can be wrong. He was. He should not have doubled down when he did. Okay. He should have responded to the team owner when the team owner reached out to him on multiple occasions. He should not have ignored him. Absolutely. But those 6 steps are too much. The Anti-Defamation League already rejected his money. They did. They said they don't want it, right? So now they want him to go and meet with them. Too much. I can't even stress anymore too much. That movie shot to the top of the Amazon charts when the backlash hit. So who's profiting? You're probably right, Tony. Amazon. But if the NBA and anybody else who has a problem with the fact that Kyrie posted it, if they're not saying to Amazon and Jeff Bezos, that movie, that documentary should be taken down because they've got relationships and they are financially involved with them, then is it really a problem? Or is it because it was Kyrie? I'm just saying. Crane wanted a proven winner. Yeah, I don't know. I think that Crane wanted to wait to see. I think that there's a really good chance he brings Dusty back. I think if Dusty doesn't win the World Series, he doesn't bring him back. I just don't think he does. Which is he'd already been successful, but that's what I think. Billionaires' questions, billionaires' problems. Rainey says, what the hell are they saying? Bow down? Absolutely. That's exactly what they're saying. They all need sensitivity training. I'm sure Amazon made a lot of money on the documentary. People went out to Amazon based on the curiosity to see what it was all about. Absolutely. Again, 2 things can be true. They've gone too far. I'm not for them, I say, emasculating this black man. And y'all know I'm always saying Kyrie is always doing too. He's always doing the most. It's always something with him. However, this is too much. I don't think he would take those 6 steps. And I do hope that the NBA Players Association steps up and steps in because that's just too much. And then HR Gold says, Dusty's a leader and he grooms young players in a great way. He does well with young players, right? He does well he's got the most diverse staff in baseball. I don't know if you guys heard a show from a few weeks ago with Jesus Ortiz, a friend and colleague. He runs a publication, online publication called Our Esquina. But he talked about it and how Dusty has the most diverse staff in baseball. He has more Latino coaches than anybody else, right? He's got guys from the DR, from the Dominican. He's got Latino dudes. He's got white dudes. He has African American coaches. He's got a staff that is diverse and talented, you know. And yes, Kyrie says he's going home. Yeah, I don't see Kyrie doing. I don't see Kyrie. I just don't see Kyrie, the Kyrie that I, but that I've just seen over the years. If you're down before you get to this, I don't see him doing all that. I just don't. Again, Kyrie is problematic in some of the things that he does, but this is too far. And then Tony says, I'm more concerned with Click standing. Dusty and Crane shot down his Urquidy trade for Wilson Contreras. Yeah, I think Click is gone. And Urquidy, that's another guy that you've got in this bullpen, right? So they've got so much talent, which is why you don't need to pay Justin Verlander all that money. Go get yourself another bat, another bat in the lineup. So I think Click is done. I don't know if I was there on the field after the game, and when they called up James Click and said, James Click, when they were doing the trophy ceremony, and he kind of said something for like 20 seconds and then he moved away, but there was this look that he had, there's clear tension with Jim Crane and James Click. So I don't necessarily expect that he will be back. Jim obviously is big in making a lot of those moves. Now, before I go, there's another story I've got to talk about, and then I'm going to get out of here because I'm trying to get these shows to 45 minutes. So the Indianapolis Colts fired their head coach, Frank Reich. They're right. I don't have any. Okay. And they went and brought in Jeff Saturday as the interim head coach. Now, Jeff Saturday played in the league, was also very active when he was in the Players Association, Players Union. He's been working on ESPN. I like Jeff's work from what I see. But Jeff Saturday has as much coaching experience as me and Angel combined. None. So they're not held by the standards of the Rooney Rule, where you've got to talk to minority candidates because it's an interim gig. But really, this is what we're doing. So you've got people on the coaches that, if you got Reggie, who played for the Colts, who's a future Hall of Famer, on that staff who was overlooked. There's a number of people overlooked. So I'm listening to Jim Irsay in the press conference say, well, I'm glad he doesn't have any experience because he didn't have to basically unlearn anything. Okay, so I'm trying to keep up, y'all. So with the black coaches and them taking forever to get opportunities, they didn't have coordinator experience. And you can't be a head coach without being a coordinator. Well, we've seen that change, right? We've seen that change, and we've seen coaches not be coordinators. But now we're saying you don't need experience. So what is it that a black coach is to do, right? What is it that a black coach is to do to get an opportunity that he has worked for? He has receipts that shows he has earned a right to have it. It's ridiculous. And so I just wanted to mention that. And this has nothing to do with Jeff Saturday. I don't really care about that. He seems like a good enough person. I'm sure that Eric Bieniemy is like, really? And Mike Flores, that lawsuit, he's probably like, okay, I see you when I match you. It's a problem with the National Football League. They have got to do better. The Rooney Rule doesn't work. It's a farce. And I don't know what the answer is, other than you've got to get some ownership. Now, supposedly Jeff Bezos and Jay-Z are trying to, be in position so that if in fact Daniel Snyder does sell the Commanders, that they can, buy the team. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, because there are black people that have the financial wherewithal to purchase an NFL team. Like, that's not... There are some of us in that financial stratosphere. But you got to have all the other guys. Yeah, you can come be in our group. You can bring your $1 billion and come be and come over here and kick it with us. They have to let you in. So we'll talk more about that on future shows. I just wanted to, Tony, you got jokes. I'm not even going to post it. He said the Texans better go get Josh McCown. Well, now that Jack Easterby's gone, perhaps the Josh McCown debacle can be put to rest. But enough already, right? Seriously, this is what we're doing? So I'm going to end the show with how I started it. Make sure you vote. All right? Your vote won't have an impact on whether Jim Irsay hires gives a black coach a fair shot or not. But affirmative action is going to be on the ballot, although that benefits white women more than it does us. But at any rate, a lot of issues are going to be on the ballot. And I'm just telling you to vote your values. But by all means, vote. HR Gold says, I'm rooting for Byron Allen, who recently bought the Black News Channel. And are you talking about trying to buy a team? And then we talk about media, right? We talk about media and messaging. So here's the other thing, and I really am going to go. The lines are long in Harris County. It doesn't matter. Y'all stand in lines and buy the junk at the rodeo and when you go to concerts. I'm just saying, I'm glad the lines are long. Go get in line. It's worth it. You're worth it. We're all worth it. I appreciate y'all for being here and being a big part of today's show, right? Yes, he does have 300 outlets, Byron Allen. I did a little bit of work for the Black News Channel. And that's the other thing, is messaging. Because when you turn on your television, besides all the ads that many of them are not true, right? I struggle with that. Like, shouldn't an ad have to be true? That's one. But then they talk about these, which I think is a thing that discourages people from voting. Because you think, well, my candidate doesn't have a chance. Forget the polls. Forget the polls. The polls told y'all Hillary Clinton was going to win. Now, she did win the popular vote, but then we got Donald Trump. I'm just telling you, forget the polls. Forget what the media is telling you. Go vote. And let's talk on the other side about what we can do in terms of messaging for ourselves and things that really matter. I appreciate you guys for being a part of today's show. Make sure you support the people that support us. Lamont Catering, I Love Jinka, is ilovejinka.com, and Kimmy Treats. I'm going to close it out with our new partner, Lamont Catering, and their new spices that you can order online. And here is one of the recipes that you could make if you buy the spices. Have a great week. Remember, do something kind for yourself and something kind for somebody else. Get the flu shot, get the COVID vaccine, and make sure you vote. Peace, everybody.